I think this would have been better priced at maybe like $50. And even then, I'm glad to have one in the collection, but I don't think it's something that I would seek to get a backup of. Welcome to Whiskey and SV. I'm your host Sam, and tonight we're going to be drinking some Angel's Envy Triple Oak. This is the latest release from Angel's Envy. They've been on a tear with new releases recently, actually, and this one is an interesting one because it's, as usual, a finished bourbon. For the first time ever, as a side note, as the first time ever, Angel's Envy decided to put an unfinished bourbon, and it's a distillery only. So if you're in Kentucky and you can go get that bottle, definitely be sure to try it. I've heard it's a banger. Unfortunately, it's only a 375 milliliter one and a distillery special, so you cannot buy it anywhere else. Yeah, I came across this at our local store, the Unwind Bottle Shop, which I am trying to build a relationship with. And yeah, it's a 46% ABV. It was a straight bourbon whiskey finished in a blend of Hungarian chinkapin and French oak barrels, and they were blended together. So I cracked this earlier tonight, and I gave it a try, and I thought I would give a review of it and give you my first impressions. Of course, I'll put a separate shorts out for the first impressions, but if you want to watch the longer version, here it is. So, this is a very, very different bourbon than the baseline port barrel finished bourbon, and of course, than the rye. And the rye is its own unique thing out there, very different. But this is also extremely different from the regular port barrel one that you might see in a store. So the port barrel one is in the order of $40 or so. It's 43% ABV, and I actually like it quite a bit. But I do prefer the store picks, which are closer to cask strength or at cask strength. It doesn't actually say cask strength on them, so I never know. But they're in the order of 105 proof or 110 proof. So I assume they are probably cask strength. This one is obviously not cask strength, it's 46%. And it's a completely different profile. So on the nose, this doesn't really remind me of an Angel's Envy port barrel finish. It's just lots of oak and slight mineral tastes. And the oak is not the type of oak where you get sort of like dark chocolate and aged, from really high char barrel type of oak. It's actually comes across as a very lively, younger type oak, and the sweetness that is there is sort of a honey taste that is mixed with fruits. It's quite nice, but it also comes across as a little bit grainy, meaning it's sort of, yeah, if you imagine a grain that has been fermenting and has is overripe, but still hasn't really got like well integrated into stuff. That's kind of what it tastes like, what it smells like. Don't get me wrong, it's very, very nice, and I think like if you like the recent Smoke Eye Hill, there's a good chance that you might like this as well, because it is sort of like a very oak heavy, in some ways complex, I guess, whiskey. But yeah, there's just those grainy notes which are not the favorite for me. All right, let's go for a palate. So the palate on this is definitely very, very grain forward. It just comes across as super young, and the oak on it is very present, but it's not the sort of oak that you get in an Russell's 15. Russell's 15 oak is so well integrated with the sweetness, and the bitters on it are like dark chocolate. The bitters on this are more like young wood and mixed with sort of like citrus notes. It's nice. I mean, I think I paid something like 70 plus tax for this. I I think it's too young to be worth that price. Let me try something that I think would be much better. This is the Angel's Envy store pick by Potomac Wines, and it is bottled at 109.9 proof. So this is kind of like the sort of like the cast strength version of the. It is the cast strength version of the sort of the regular one that you see on shelf for like under $40. So obviously it's going to be very different because it's like port cask finish versus all these like French and chinkapin and whatever else the hell this was finished in. So let's see. Okay, so straight away on the nose, this is much closer to a port finish Scotch in some ways. It's like you take a very nice bourbon and finish it lightly with ports, and the result is amazing. I really, really enjoy the nose on this. Compared to this, where the graininess gets in the way of the enjoyment for me a little bit. And I think like the oak there is a little bit too much and not the type of oak that I enjoy. The oak that I enjoy is more towards dark chocolates and mixes well with sweets, versus this one is like more just bitter, and not like a Elijah Craig 18 bitter. It's like a young citrus sort of a driven bitter. Let's try this on the pad. Yeah, this has a very heavy port influence. Those red fruits and sweet flavors that come from a port are very, very present here. It was definitely aged. You can tell that it was aged in some sort of fortified wine. Now, you may not know the difference between port and sherry. That could be excused, but there's no mistaking that this was definitely aged in some sort of fortified wine. And it's super enjoyable. I really, really enjoy this versus this is, yes, sure, $20 cheaper, but I think this would have been better priced at maybe like $50. And even then, I'm glad to have one in the collection, but I don't think it's something that I would seek to get a backup of. So yeah, one more sip on this. Mm, so good, so good. So there you have it, folks. I think if you want to pick up an Angel's Envy and you want to try like the next level up from the base, then definitely go for a store pick, sort of a cast strength expression of the same port, especially if you like that profile. This is a very completely different profile. It's more along the lines of a Smoke Eye Hill or some. It just doesn't come across as an Angel's Envy to me because it's not the oak casts that are used here. They don't taste like, they just do not taste like fortified wine. So it's just completely different and not. I think it could use an probably like too young. It could definitely benefit from a few more years in the barrel. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed that episode, and I will see you next time. Cheers.